Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to episode 41 of the Be Great podcast. It's your boy on this. I'm actually recording this on a Monday, although you're listening to this on a Tuesday. That's when this is uploaded. I had a hard time thinking about what I really wanted to talk about today. I think we'll start off talking about the national championship game that is a week from today. And we'll go over the Ohio State Texas game as well. And that's really where we'll start, and we'll see where we end. As far as the Ohio State Texas game is concerned, um, Texas had it, and they gave it away in typical Quinn Ewers, Steve Sarkisian fashion. I said on Friday that if they could just drag this game out, make this game four quarters, keep this game close, that they had a chance. And I thought that if it was a close game for four quarters, that Texas would win because Ryan Day would do his typical Ryan Day thing. Turns out, though, that something stronger happened. Quinn Ewers and Steve Sarkisian did their Quinn Ewers and Steve Sarkisian thing. And that's really what happened in the fourth quarter there. I mean, when you're on the goal line, have a chance to tie it up 21-21, and you run a toss. I mean, that's just unforgivable, to be quite honest. And then Quinn Ewers gets blown up, fumbles. Sorry. Jack Sawyer picks it up, runs it for a touchdown, and that's just GG at that point. I thought Ohio State showed grit, but I also think they showed that they're beatable. I said that the way Ohio State played against Tennessee, against Oregon, specifically on the offensive side of the ball, was not sustainable. And you saw that against Texas, a very good defense. Like I said, I said out front I liked Texas as a matchup against Ohio State. The question, becomes, first of all, what's next for Quinn Ewers? Is he going to come back? I think, well, okay. He's not going back to Texas. That's dead and buried. Arch Manning will be the quarterback next season. Does he transfer? We'll see. I wouldn't mind him transferring. I think that would be the right decision for him. I would love to see him go to, I know Texas Tech was there was talks of Carson going to Texas Tech. I mean, I wouldn't mind Quinn Ewers at a Texas Tech. I think he would throw for a lot of numbers against the Big 12 defense in competition. I would also, I know there's been a lot of talk about him possibly going to North Carolina and teaming up with Bill Belichick. I wouldn't mind that either. But I think that'd be the right decision for Quinn to not go into the draft. He's simply not ready, and to just take another year of college and get paid a lot of NIL money no matter where you go. And Ohio State's moving on to play Notre Dame. As far as that game, I think Ohio State will win. But from what I saw from Ohio State against Notre Dame, I do feel like Notre Dame actually has a chance. Um, Notre Dame has done a tremendous job of executing. They don't have the most talent on the field. They didn't have more talent than Georgia. They didn't have more talent than Penn State. They won't have more talent than Ohio State. But what Notre Dame has been doing is that they have been executing on such a high level for each of their playoff games. And if they continue to do so, they have a chance. But if they do not execute to an elite level, I think they're going to get blown out. That defense is going to have to hold Ohio State to under 30 points. If Ohio State reaches 30, it's game over. I do not see that Notre Dame offense getting to anywhere. I do not see that Notre Dame offense getting past 25 against Ohio State's defense, and that might be generous. But that's how I feel about that game. I think Ohio State wins, but I do think Notre Dame has a chance to keep it close if they are able to execute the way that they have been executing. And that's how I feel about the national championship on January 20th. Um, as far as some other things to talk about, honestly, this is one of those times where you're kind of just sitting around and you're just waiting for the national championship to happen. You're just like, man, can the game come already? It's crazy that we've reached this point in the season. It feels like just yesterday it was week 1, and I was watching Georgia Clemson, and now here we are, national championship game, Ohio State, Notre Dame. Um, I'm definitely. You know what? There is some UGA news actually. Dalen Everett, the number 1 corner for Georgia this past season, it has announced that he will return for next season, which is tremendous news for Georgia. That was greatly needed and will greatly help the secondary. I would have been worried about the secondary if he had not return if he would have decided to declare for the draft. And he's absolutely good enough to declare, but I think he can raise his stock even more with another season of film like he put up this past season. You know what? I was thinking all day today. I was like, man, what should I talk about in today's show other than the national championship game? And I remember last Friday I talked about some early predictions because what's better than talking about next season when this season is not even over yet, huh? But I have a couple more. I have a couple more early predictions that have been rattling around in my brain. So let's get to those. First and foremost, let's go. Where do I want to go here? Let's go with Oregon, huh? I believe Oregon will win the Big Ten again next season. And I actually think that they might have a. Let me not say might, because if I'm going to be bullish on these early predictions, no, I can't be saying might. Not Ohio State. I already did an Ohio State early prediction. Oregon will win the Big Ten again, and I believe will be better than they were this year. And maybe that's a hot take, but I don't believe that it is, because you look at it and you're like, how is it possible that Oregon's going to be better next season? They were the 1 seed. Yeah, but did they deserve the 1 seed? They deserve the 1 seed, but looking back now after the Ohio State game, Oregon wasn't really the 1 seed. And the main reason that I think Oregon is going to be better next year than they are this year is because of the defense. I think the defense is going to get significantly better. Oregon has done well in the portal like they always do, and Oregon has been having some amazing recruiting classes. So I think that defense is going to be better next season, especially because I think they're going to take a long, hard look at that defense to try and make sure that next season it's up to Dan Lanning's standards. Okay, because Dan Lanning, he's a defensive guy. He was the defensive coordinator at Georgia, right? That's who he is. So I believe that's why Oregon's going to be better. They might take a step back offensively, but I feel like they're going to take such a big step forward defensively. That's how I feel. Another early prediction. Let's go to the Big 12. I believe that next season, Texas Tech will be in the Big 12 championship game. I'm not willing to fully commit on them being Big 12 champions, but I am willing to commit on them being in the Big 12 championship next season. That's what I believe. And by the way, I was going to come on here and go back through my episodes to see when I predicted Carson Beck to Miami. I forgot to do that, but I will do it, and I will tell you on Friday. But anywho, back to Texas Tech. Texas Tech has done a lot of good things in the portal. They've recruited pretty well. And I just have this feeling that next season is Texas Tech's season to shine. And you know what? Arizona State's probably going to be pretty good again next season, along with Kansas State, maybe a Colorado. So I think it's definitely up for grabs. And I could easily see Texas Tech versus Arizona State in the Big 12 championship next season, in Jerry World. But give me Texas Tech to be in the Big 12 championship game. Next prediction, let's see. Let's go to Miami. I'm kind of just choosing teams at random and then just firing off what I think. Carson Beck is now the quarterback at Miami. I think he's going to have better stats at Miami than he had at Georgia this year because I think that's just how they play at Miami, especially on the offensive side of the ball. But I think Miami will miss the ACC championship again. I think they're going to miss it again. They seem to have this kind of mental block when it comes to Georgia Tech. And I think that Duke has the potential to be better next season. I think Georgia Tech has the potential to be better next season. I think North Carolina is not a team to sneeze at in the first year of Bill Belichick. I think Florida State's got to be better next season than they were last season. Clemson will always be a threat in the ACC. We'll have to see how NC State looks. Will they be able to bounce back? I think Syracuse is going to continue to be a threat. Boston College, I think, will kind of continue to grow under Bill O'Brien. So I think you have a lot of teams in the ACC that aren't a threat right now to anything on a national stage, like a national championship. But as far as in the ACC is concerned, it's again very up for grabs. And I feel like there's a lot of teams who are going to get better and better. Virginia Tech is another one. So I think Miami will miss the ACC championship again next season, which honestly I think I'd fire Cristobal if that's the case, because you're telling me you had Cam Ward and then Carson Beck as your quarterback and you didn't even make the ACC championship with either. It's a little embarrassing. Let's be honest. Let's go to the SEC, huh? That's the conference everyone cares about, right? Let's see. I obviously gave my LSU prediction. That's the prediction I feel the most confident about, and that's the prediction that I gave first. And honestly, if they don't make the playoffs next season, Brian Kelly should be fired because that roster is 100% good enough to make the playoffs next season. Let's see. I won't give my Georgia prediction yet. I'll hold off on that. I'll hold on. I have to think a little bit more on it, to be honest. How about Ole Miss? Ole Miss is an interesting one. I think Ole Miss will be significantly worse next season. I think all the guys they're losing is going to be rough. Losing Antoine Wells. I think they're losing Antoine Wells, but they're for sure losing Jackson Dart. They're for sure losing Trey Harris. They're for sure losing Princely Umanmielen. For sure losing Walter Nolan. I mean, those are big pieces that they're losing. I think they're losing their linebacker, Chris Paul Jr. as well, and their corner, Trey Amos. I mean, those are a lot of massive pieces for that team that are leaving. And I just think I think this was Ole Miss's chance. I think this was Ole Miss's chance this year to, win the ACC, have a playoff appearance, and they let it go in Gainesville. They really just let it go. They let it slip from their hands in typical Lane Kiffin fashion. And I think they're going to be significantly worse next season. As a Georgia fan, we have Ole Miss coming to town next season. I'm not that worried about it, to be quite honest with you. I'm really not. Tennessee, I think, is also a team that's going to take a step back, which is maybe a weird thing to say to a lot of people because you're going to have Nico coming into his second year. But look at what they're losing. They're losing, oh my gosh. James Pierce Jr. I almost forgot his name. They're losing James Pierce off the edge. Squirrel White has transferred. They might be losing Dylan Sampson. I don't know if they are. I don't know if he declared or not. They're also losing what's his name, Norman Lott on the defensive line. They're losing some pieces, and I think Tennessee could be a team that also takes a step back. Not a major step back, but a little step back this season. Because it's funny because I feel like I kind of can see how the SEC plays out next season. I feel like I can see the teams that are taking a step back and see the teams that are taking steps forward. Like I feel like I can see that LSU is going to take a step forward, that Texas A&M is going to take a step forward, Florida take a step forward, right? And I feel like I can see the teams that are going to take steps back. Alabama, Tennessee, Ole Miss. I don't think in the SEC there's many teams that are going to be that consistent at the top other than really Texas and Georgia. I think LSU has the potential for it, but they haven't done it. So it's not like I can sit here and say, oh, I feel like LSU will consistently be at the top for the next 5 years. Like, no, they've been way too inconsistent for me to be able to rely on that. And you see all these LSU guys in the NFL balling right now that Brian Kelly had come through his program, and you have to wonder, like, man, you didn't win one SEC championship with that. Look at the way Jane Daniels is balling, Malik Neighbors balling. Like, you're telling me you didn't win one? That's Brian Thomas Jr. is another one. I mean, you didn't win one? Okay. Sure, bro. But I think LSU's biggest question mark will be their offensive line because they're losing a lot of pieces there. But we'll see. We will see. It's not fun to have the offensive line be the thing that has the biggest question mark, but it is what it is. Ooh, what do I think about Vanderbilt, huh? America's team? It's hard to say. It really is hard to say because Vanderbilt is just one of those teams where it feels like when no one has any hope for them, boom, they pop off with 6 wins randomly. And then everyone the next season's like, oh my gosh, Vanderbilt, maybe they'll get 7 wins. And then they'll end with 2. And it's just depressing. I think Mississippi State will be better next season. They got to be. It's hard to get worse than what they were last season. They brought in Fluff Bothwell, one of my favorite names in college football. They brought him in at running back. So to me, that's an immediate boost. He was a stud at South Alabama, by the way. But is there anyone else I want to give a prediction on? I said Texas A&M is going to take a step up, and I do believe Texas A&M will take a step up. They've got a lot of nice transfer portal pieces. Their quarterback will be in his second year. You would think he would progress. So I think Texas A&M has a lot of potential to take a significant step forward next season and to make a playoff appearance. Because, they almost did in the first season under Mike Elko. So you got to imagine second season – it could be a large step forward for them. Maybe an SEC championship appearance. We'll see. But yeah, I think that's where I'm going to stop for today. I hope everyone has a great week. I will have another episode out on Friday. And yeah, everyone have a great day and go Dogs.